Every morning before the sun fully rose, Daniel washed the marble floors of Crestline Tower. The building smelled of lemon cleaner and cold ambition. He moved quietly, pushing his cart from hallway to hallway, careful not to leave streaks. By 8 o'clock, executives would flood the place with polished shoes and louder voices, and Daniel would fade into the background like part of the walls. He did not mind the work. What weighed on him was the clock. Every minute he stayed late meant less time with his son, Noah. Since Noah's mother had passed away 3 years earlier, Daniel measured his days by school pickups, homework hours, and bedtime stories read with a tired but steady voice. He worked nights at a grocery store and mornings at Crestline Tower. Sleep was something he borrowed in small pieces. That morning, the CEO arrived early. Her name was Eleanor Wright, and she was known for running Crestline like a machine that never slowed. She walked through the lobby with her assistant trailing behind, speaking sharply into her phone. Daniel was polishing the floor near the elevators when her heel slipped slightly. She stopped. "Are you blind?" she snapped, looking down at him as if he were a stain. "Do you know how dangerous this is?" Daniel froze. "I am sorry, ma'am. I just mopped. I put the sign right there." Eleanor glanced at the yellow sign and waved it away with irritation. "Excuses. If I had fallen, do you know what that would mean?" Her voice echoed in the lobby. A few employees slowed to watch. Daniel felt heat rise to his face, not from anger but from shame. He lowered his head. "I will dry it again," he said softly. Eleanor shook her head. "Unbelievable. People like you never think." She walked away, leaving silence behind her. Daniel swallowed hard and went back to work. He told himself it did not matter. He had been spoken to worse before. Still, the words followed him through the morning like a bruise you could not see. Near noon, his phone buzzed. It was the school nurse. "Noah fainted," she said gently. "We think it is dehydration, but you should come." Daniel's hands trembled as he clocked out. He ran all the way to the bus stop, his heart pounding with fear. By the time he reached the school, Noah was awake and embarrassed more than hurt. Daniel hugged him tightly, breathing in the familiar smell of crayons and soap. That evening, as Daniel returned to Crestline for his night shift, he noticed something unusual. An ambulance was parked outside. People stood in clusters, whispering. Inside, he learned what had happened. Eleanor Wright's 6-year-old daughter, Lily, had collapsed at daycare earlier that day. She had a rare blood disorder. The hospital needed a donor immediately. Her blood type was uncommon. Daniel listened quietly as fear spread through the building. Eleanor had been rushed to the hospital, meetings canceled, phones unanswered. For the first time, the tower felt fragile. Daniel thought of Noah fainting in the nurse's office. He thought of the way Eleanor's voice had cracked when she had been shouting into her phone earlier that morning. He did not know her, not really. But he knew fear. When the call went out asking for donors, Daniel stepped forward. At the hospital, nurses moved quickly. They tested his blood, then tested it again. A doctor came in, surprise clear on his face. "You are a match," he said. Daniel lay on the narrow bed, staring at the ceiling as the needle slid into his arm. It hurt less than he expected. As the blood flowed, he closed his eyes and pictured Noah's smile when he beat a level in his favorite game. He hoped Lily would have a smile like that too. Hours later, he sat in the waiting room, weak but calm. Eleanor appeared from a hallway, her face pale and tight with worry. She was smaller here, without her sharp suit and commanding presence. The doctor spoke to her quietly, then gestured toward Daniel. "This is the man who donated," he said. Eleanor turned. Her eyes met Daniel's, and recognition flickered. Confusion followed, then something like shock. "You," she said softly. Daniel stood, steadying himself. "I am glad I could help." For a moment, she could not speak. Tears filled her eyes, and when she finally walked toward him, her steps were unsteady. "I am sorry," she said. The words seemed to cost her effort. For what I said. For how I treated you. I did not know. Daniel shook his head. You were having a bad day. She let out a short, broken laugh. So were you. And you still did this. She reached out, then hesitated, unsure. Daniel nodded, and she hugged him, holding on longer than he expected. Lily recovered. The doctor said the donation had made all the difference. A week later, Daniel was called into an office at Crestline Tower. He expected a warning or a schedule change. Instead, Eleanor was there, standing when he entered. I want you to know, she said, that your kindness saved my daughter. That is not something I can repay. But I can try. She offered him a new position. Better hours. Better pay. Health insurance that covered his son. More than that, she offered respect. Daniel accepted, not because of the money, but because he saw sincerity in her eyes. Some acts are small only in appearance. A quiet man with a mop. A bag of blood. A moment of choosing compassion when it is easier to walk away. Those are the things that change lives, even in buildings made of marble and glass.